everybody, this is the Wikstrand and welcome to my hotel here in Evora. Now, today we're going to take a look at Peter Pan. This was my first Disney animated feature I ever saw in the cinema. It was some kind of a re-release in the mid-80s or something like that. And I had high expectations on it, but I somehow didn't think it was that good. I don't know why that was, but the fact is that over the years there's been a lot of interpretations of the whole thing. I was so hyped for Hook, which ended up being one of my least favorite movies of all time at the time when I watched it, because I thought it was so boring and it just went on forever and I hated Robin Williams. But alas, there has been a lot of interpretations of Peter Pan over the years, and I thought to myself, well, now I'm going to re-watch this movie for the purpose of this review to see whether or not it is, much superior to Hook. I also rewatched Hook a couple of years ago just to reaffirm that movie sucked. It ended up not sucking as much as I remembered it to be. The movie was still absolutely too long, but that's a story for another time. We're going to take a look at today the 1950s animated version, which I think is a bit of a mess, but it has some really good parts to it. Let's find out what those parts are, shall we? This is Peter Pan. So when these parents are going away on some adult-related things, theater or opera or something like that, and she's left alone with her two siblings and their babysitter, Nana, who is a Saint Bernard's dog, which seems like a good babysitter, I guess. Now, Wendy has been brought up by her mom, who has, told her the tales and fantastic adventures of Peter Pan in Never Never Land. And she has been told, almost to the point in which she actually believes that this thing actually, did happen. After about 10 minutes, the plot actually kind of shows up in this movie, because Peter Pan arrives and he, is a rambunctious and chaotic person, but we'll get to him in a second, because he gets a little bit upset of the fact that Wendy is not going to be staying in the kids' room anymore. She's going to move to the adults' room, and Peter Pan is kind of bummed out that she's going to become an adult. By the way, an adult? What is she, 12? Anyway, he takes them away to Never Never Land. I will say this about 1950s Disney animated features: they don't waste any fucking time waiting around for the plot to kick in sometimes. They just wham! Here I am, now deal with it. So they fly away together to Never Never Land. By the way, Tinkerbell is not very pleased with the prospect of Wendy, accompanying them to Neverland. She's this silent, bitchy type of a character who seems to have an obsession with Peter Pan, a thing that they explored maybe a little bit too much in Hook. I don't know, but that's a story for another time. Now, I know that I'm probably not the first person to make this little observation / comparison, but it bears mentioning. It's a little bit weird that Peter Pan is a guy dressed in green spandex who invades children's bedrooms, provides them with white powder which makes them believe that they can fly. Anyway, they travel to the world Neverland, where the Lost Boys are, and the pirates and the mermaids and the Indians. There is a lot in this movie that sort of doesn't make that much sense, but it worked in Alice in Wonderland. It could have worked here too. Now, for some reason, they need to split up and do other stuff while we patiently wait for something to happen or the plot to end, whatever happens first. So the mermaids, they don't play a big factor in this one. They splash water on Wendy at one point, but then we basically never see them again. The Indians have what makes the Red Man Red song, which the internet can argue over whether or not it is dated or not, or it is offensive or not. I'm not interested in that aspect of the movie because, well, The Indians are not very, useful to this story whatsoever anyway, because the only thing, that happens with them is they do the Red Man song, and then Peter Pan has to save Lily Feather, who has been kidnapped by Captain Hook. But apart from that, they're about as, useful to the plot of this movie as, the crows from the Jungle Books, or the elephants from the Jungle Book, or King Louie from the Jungle Book. There's a lot of stuff in the Jungle Book that is not necessary to the plot, but somehow it works better than this one. So let's go to our most immortal character from this movie, Captain Hook. I thought that I was going to absolutely love Captain Hook as a classical Disney villain, but I didn't find him that endearing. I didn't find him threatening. I didn't find him that funny. I do love the fact that he straight up murders a guy, shoots him when he's singing. Off screen, of course, but anyway, he just boom, and then he goes back to whatever he was doing. By the way, if he's okay with shooting his own crew members for singing, why isn't he trying to hunt down the crocodile that, took his hand and shoot him? I don't know why. He has the guns and he has, the crocodile there. He's accompanied by a bunch of forgettable pirate characters, but of course we have Smee here, who I'm absolutely loving because he tries to be this evil a pirate, but he's just too likable for us to think that he's evil. He's just, Smee, you're the greatest. By the way, I love Bob Hoskins as Smee in Hook, so I didn't care that much about, the battle between Peter Pan and Captain Hook, because I found Peter Pan to be an excruciatingly unlikable character. He's an egotistical maniac who only cares about himself. That's probably from the book, but it's really tricky to make us care about him as a character. If we could have, explored some other part of it, or if they could have made him more of an Errol Flynn character, maybe that could have worked. But here, he just comes across as a douche, and I didn't care whether or not Captain Hook defeated him or not. I didn't care about his story with Tinkerbell. I didn't care about the story of him with the Lost Boys. I didn't care about most of these characters. The siblings are boring. Wendy is boring. The mermaids are boring. The Indians are not boring. The pirates are for the most part boring, except of course for Smee and Captain Hook, who has a couple of amazing slapstick sequences that is fantastic. The oar to the head is maybe the single greatest act of cartoon violence I have ever seen. The timing, the expressions, and the sound effects. It is mwah! I love the animation style of this movie. Some of the sequences are actually quite breathtaking, but we also have so many boring song numbers, and we have all of these uninteresting plot points that we have to get to the very predictable, but also kind of endearing ending, which I actually ended up liking a lot. So Peter Pan is not a very good Disney animated feature, and they have done lots better than this one that I've seen. But would you like it? I don't know. This is a movie with a plot that sort of goes nowhere and goes everywhere all at the same time, and it feels so rushed at times, and sometimes they just, hold up on certain things for what seems like 10-15 minutes for no apparent reason. So I don't know. It's one of these movies where I want to like it, but I can't because the characters are unlikable or boring, and the story isn't that much to hang your hat on as well. So I don't know. It is still better than Hook, but when I did this review, I expected that I was going to tell you how much better this movie was than Hook. And I really can't, because it is a better movie than Hook, but it is still just a okay movie. Peter Pan is an okay Disney animated feature. I give this movie 39 points. It has an endearing legacy to itself, and I'm sure that there are aspects of this movie that I have missed that people like more than I did, but I just found this movie to be quite boring and quite uninteresting, so take that for what you will. So what is your favorite adaptation of the Pan saga? Comment below, and I'll see you next time from, well, so-and-so reviewing, well, such and such. Thank you for watching. Thank you very much.